Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, September 25th. This is Spartan News. I am the Spartan. Should be a shorter stream today, but an interesting stream today. So first of all, we're going to go over quickly go over the losses for the last 24 hours. And then I have a couple of interesting updates. One specifically about a tactic that the Ukrainians may have used, which I've never heard of before. It's kind of a combination of a Trojan horse and a kamikaze drone. If we can get more details on it and get some confirmation, but the early indications are it was a pretty interesting and successful operation, potentially by whether it was Ukrainian Special Forces, Ministry of Intelligence, or Armed Forces. I'm not sure, but anyways. So just to start off with the Russian losses over the last 24 hours, as I said, it seems like Sundays things take a bit of a lull as far as information gathering, maybe, or whatever, and then you typically see the loss reports tick back up on Monday and Tuesday. So over the last 24 hours, 420 personnel are no longer taking part in the special military operation. 5 tanks, little tick up. 13 APVs, still low but better. 1 second. 27 artillery pieces, 2 MLRS, which is kind of average, 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems, which is actually pretty good. We're averaging less than an anti-aircraft warfare system per day. So when you get 2, that's great. That's basically double the daily average loss. 7 UAVs, drones. And I didn't put the vehicles up there, but it's on the low side as well. It's 12 vehicles and fuel tanks. And again, those are typically civilian vehicles that the Russian MOD has now taken over to transport equipment, personnel, fuel, food, etc. So there you go. So moving on into something, this is the unfortunate thing. So yesterday, over the last 24 hours, there was a huge cruise missile and drone strikes all across Ukraine. And of course, the more successful the Ukrainians are in striking Russian military equipment, the Russians respond with more and more intense targeting of civilians. They think it's going to break the Ukrainians. It only makes them more unified and stronger, to the point where they do not want this war to end until they get every inch of their territory back. So unfortunately, in Odessa, between the ending of the grain deal and being a port city, and just an easier target because Kharkiv, Lviv, etc. Not Kharkiv, sorry, Kiev, Lviv, etc. All seem to have better air defense protection for various reasons, and there's only so much to go around. But Odessa has been taking the brunt of it lately since June. 2 Odessa residents were killed as a result of another Russian terrorist attack. Overnight, Russia launched 19 Shaheeds and 12 caliber cruise missiles and 2 Onyx supersonic missiles. So the Onyx supersonic missile, that is the one that's meant to take out a carrier. It is not meant to take out civilian infrastructure. All 19 UAVs and 11 calibers, so 11 of the 12 calibers were shot down. I don't believe, other than maybe the NASAMS and the Patriots, I don't think anything else it can take out the Onyx, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen a real detailed breakdown of that. This is a beautiful hotel, was a beautiful hotel in Odessa, and it was struck. And I'll just show more replies in case somebody included. Do you think the bombardment of missiles and drones over Donbass, Crimea, Kursk, Belgrade, etc. will not go unpunished? Just for they're basically saying that the Russians will respond. Anyways, so it's unfortunate. It was a beautiful building. It was untouched prior to this, and fire basically ravaged up the front of it. But the Ukrainians will remain undaunted. Not will remain. They are undaunted, and they will continue picking apart the Russian military step by step. And part of the fact that part of the reason why they need something like the ATACMS, which is a 300-kilometer range, so desperately, is because of the fact that ATACMS can basically hit every single airport and occupied area in the occupied territories, every single military base. They can take out every single plane, helicopter, etc. Mainly planes. They can launch any of these cruise missiles and Onyx supersonic missiles. They've already shown that they can take out the ships. The if the Russians have 20, 30 aircraft sitting at an airport in, I don't know, Kursk or somewhere in Crimea, and they can drop 3 or 4 ATACMS with cluster munitions onto that airport, they can take out every single airframe on that airport, and nothing is getting launched. So, anyways, a little sidebar, but that's why ATACMS has been so requested and is so needed. So 2 days yesterday, you may have. I think I posted a little bit about this, possibly, but yeah, I did. I think I mentioned the Kursk, but basically, so this is a post from yesterday from Special Kherson Cat. Love her. She's great. Today there were reports about a drone attack on Kursk, specifically on an FSB building. If you remember, I showed you a couple of photos of the FSB building and saying, they weren't great photos or whatever, but the roof may have been hit. And specifically on the FSB building and at the oil refinery near the Kalino airfield. And I was not able to find any videos or photographs or whatever of the oil refinery specifically being hit at the Kalino airfield. A comment from a Russian source associated with Russian military aviation appeared, which looks to be connected to these events. Something needs to be written about Kalino. It's difficult to write anything here. My condolences, brothers. We will live. So this is somebody in the Russian Air Force talking about something that happened at Kalino, and basically saying that it's very difficult, but something needs to be explained or written about it. Something needs to be said, whatever, that gets lost in translation. So that was kind of cryptic. You figure that a couple of people lost their lives. What happened, right? Well, what happened was more information about yesterday's Kalino military airfield incident, as per the main Directorate Intelligence of Ukraine. At the Kalino airfield in the Kerch region, a Ukrainian drone was landed by Russian electronic warfare systems on the runway. When the leadership of the aviation regiment and FSB officers arrived for a closer inspection of the drone exploded. As claimed, the following were killed or injured during the explosion: Commander of the 14th Aviation Regiment, one of his deputies, a group of officers, representatives of the FSB military counterintelligence, airport employees. So, and this is where I don't know, at least for sure. To me, it sounds like this was potentially a setup, like a Trojan horse, where the Ukrainians loaded up what would be considered like an observation, an ISR type drone, but they loaded it up with explosives and flew it near a Russian airbase and allowed their electronic warfare people to take over the drone and land it. And once they landed it, then all of the Russians gathered to take their photographs, to have their picture in the Pravda paper or whatever, and basically say, look at what we got, and to inspect it, obviously, for intelligence and tech and that sort of stuff. But I would not be surprised if the Ukrainians didn't do this on purpose. They had a camera on board, and they were able to tell once all of these people were close, once there was a large amount of people close, and then they detonated the drone. It is absolutely brilliant. That is 4D chess, if that's what they're doing, compared to what the Russians are doing. It's absolutely brilliant. So here's today, there were reports about a drone attack on Kursk, specifically the FSB building. So that's the ones we showed you yesterday. Here is where where Kursk is, but that doesn't really give you the full picture. So I uploaded this map for you. So here's Kursk, and there's Ukraine, right? So you can see it's a fair distance away into Russian territory. This is not previously held Ukrainian territory. I may have misspoken. I think I misspoke yesterday and basically said it was near the Kerch Bridge. I had Kursk in my head and Kursk, and anyway, so I kind of misspoke on that one. But here's a translated article on, it's kind of rehashes what we just covered off, but it might be a little bit more in here. But Kalino Airport intelligence source: a trap drone killed the command of the air regiment of the Russians at the Kalino airfield in the Kerch region. Oh, did I? You know what I didn't do? Sorry, I meant to do this. So there's Kursk. There's the Kalino airfield. And if I keep zooming in, eventually, I think it does. Yes. Oh, that didn't geolocate properly. There it is. There it is. No, that's a residential district. Where did you go? I had a picture, sort of an overview of the actual airfield. Anyways, sorry about that. Exploded. The leadership of the occupiers aviation regiment was injured. There were killed and wounded. This was told to Lisa.net by an interlocutor, so a go-between in the main directorate of intelligence. Sorry, it gets lost in translation, so it's I didn't catch that word before. The airfield, the Kalino airfield, after the name of the village of the same name nearby, 7 kilometers east of Kursk, was attacked. The 14th Guards Fighter Aviation Regiment, named after Zhdanov, which is armed with Su-30 SM aircraft. So the Su-30 aircraft are stationed at this particular airbase. It became known that a non-trivial event took place on the Kursk City Day, September 24th, from a post of the occupiers, a channel related to aviation, so an Air Force channel, a blogger, something like that. The Russians carefully concealed and continue to do so information about what happened. The fact that someone from the occupiers was eliminated on Kalino was confirmed by the following in pictures in Russian military publications. According to a source of the GUR, the following were killed or injured during the explosion: commander, one of his deputies, group of officers, the FSB representative, and airport employees. I don't know what type of drone it was, but it clearly wasn't a Mavic B. It was something large enough to hold explosives, large enough to be considered a find, a capture, or worthy of inspection and pictures. According to the interlocutors that go between, a powerful explosion occurred directly on the runway, and for a long time, the KIA and WIA were taken out of the scene, so it took a long time to remove them all. He said that the Ukrainian UAV was allegedly intercepted by means of electronic warfare of the Russians near the airfield, and then the drone was safely landed at the airstrip. So the Ukrainians basically said, I bet you they're going to land it at the airstrip if we let them capture it near the airstrip. For its inspection and subsequent photography, the leadership of the Air Regiment and the FSB arrived. When the respectable delegation, important delegates, whatever, tried to inspect the trophy UAV, the ammunition detonated, said a source about the GUR special operation. Helena was not the first to come under attack. It has been flying to the airfield since. Anyways. That's where we get lost in translation. So there it is. There's the airfield. So there's Kursk, and then there is the Kalino airbase, and I can't really zoom in, but you can see all of the different. I believe that's the Sukhois. You can see planes there, but you really can't get in close enough to see what they are. Let me just make sure that there's no other pictures. Zoomed in pictures showing the planes. But anyways, so there you go. So it could be, I like the name trap drone. I like the name Trojan Horse. Trojan Horse doesn't really do it complete justice, because if you know, the Trojan Horse actually released troops, but they basically let them think that they had captured it, and it took out a good chunk of their leadership at that airbase. So very, very impressive work. Moving on to the Ministry of Defense of UK, a little intelligence assessment update. Over the last week, Russian forces have made a concerted effort to conduct local counterattacks on advancing Ukrainian forces in both the ORC in the south and the Bakhmut sectors. In both areas, Ukrainian forces defeated the Russian attacks and maintained their hold on recently liberated territory. This is par for the course. Russian doctrine is basically, once they lose territory, they instantly order a counterattack, as soon as they can muster any troops whatsoever, and they try to hit those Ukrainian troops before they get sort of settled. And the Ukrainians know that now. So once they take some land, territory, trenches, whatever it happens to be, they instantly call in either artillery or prepare for that counterattack that's going to come right away. So it's the Russian doctrine doesn't change that much until they get punched in the mouth so many times that somebody changes it. Comments posted by the Russian military community suggest that extreme disillusionment amongst those involved in these counterattacks, especially near Bakhmut, with reports of ill-conceived advances, lack of artillery support, and heavy casualties. So basically, it's meat grinder 2.0. They're losing ground around Bakhmut, southern Bakhmut, for example. They gather some troops, they maybe put them in some BMPs, and they say, go take it back. And they send them over the horizon, and there's no counter battery, there's no artillery support, there's no nothing. They're just basically just a frontal assault, and then they get wiped out. During the last 9 months, the Russian forces in Ukraine have proved itself capable of conducting stalwart defensive operations. However, it continues to display only minimal capability on the offensive, so they can hold and slowly retreat, but they cannot advance. They've taken, as Jake Bro likes to say, they have advanced nowhere, no how. No regular Russian troops have taken basically an inch of territory anywhere in the occupied in Ukraine. The last forces that took anything was Wagner, with 50,000 prisoners using as meat waves. That's the last time, and they took Solidar and Bakhmut over a year. That's it. Commanders struggled to orchestrate complex joint effects, to concentrate sufficient artillery ammunition, and to maintain high morale. So they don't have the artillery. They don't have the combined arms capabilities normally anyways. They all operate individually. And now, with lack of experienced troops, much of their command structure has been taken out, etc. So they're basically fighting a losing retreat. Today's ISW report covers a very dynamic situation in the ongoing Ukraine counteroffensive near Orkiv in western Zaporizhia. The tactical situation is likely changing rapidly. It's too soon to forecast if Ukraine will achieve an operational breakthrough in this sector. ISW is a little delayed. Deep State map is very, very delayed. But what I can safely say is based on Ukrainian and Russian reporting on the ground, and it's not giving away any OPSEC because it's public knowledge. It depends what you define as a breakthrough, but the Ukrainians have already broken through. They've broken through in Verbove, and they've broken through in the south of the salient. Now, there's always another trench line. There's always more people, but the Verbove is very concerning to the Russians. First of all, I'll show you this map. It's fairly up to date. And again, I wish I could zoom in a bit more. But you can see the old Sirovikin line with the Dragon's Teeth long gone. The current one, so they're into this trench here and Dragon's Teeth, etc. There's another trench that swings down like this, which on this map they haven't achieved yet, but I believe they've already crossed that, and they have mechanized troops as well as troops inside the outskirts of Verbove. There's another Dragon's Teeth line and trench going like this, and by all accounts, they have moved into moved into and possibly past this trench line in several spots in the southern portion of this salient. There's a more detailed look west of Verbove, and I'm going to read you something about the Russians basically fearing that they're being encircled. It's this group up here. They're terrified that they're going to get encircled and hung out to dry because the Ukrainians are advancing so fast south of them. And if you see right here, this Sirovikin line trench network, it's quite detailed. It might be an anti-personnel or personnel and then an anti-tank. Could be Dragon's Teeth as well. I don't know. But once the Ukrainians, if you treat this kind of like a roadway, but it's actually for people, but once the Ukrainians get to this T juncture here, one, they can assault anybody who's left in this trench from that direction as well. So these people that are supposedly manning this trench network are basically getting attacked slightly from the north, definitely from the west, from the south, and then once this area here is taken, from behind. They will not be able to hold that. In addition, the Ukrainians, if they so choose, can go north of Verbove and take this trench network slowly but surely and cut off everybody to the north. I would also like to see them go south of Verbove and keep these trenches down here from being manned. And there's the NASA firm's photography, basically. That's a satellite image that shows all the fires that are happening in that particular area. So Ukrainian forces are attacking along 3 directions within the ORC salient as of September 24th. Ukrainian forces are conducting attacks from the Robotny against Novoprokopivka directly into Verbove's western side, which I just showed you, and north of Verbove, which I just showed you. Russian sources report that Ukrainian forces broke into Verbove on September 22nd. So like I said, they've already been in there for 3 days and continued attacking the settlement with armored vehicles as of September 24th. Ukrainian forces also are attacking north of Verbove and could isolate the 56th VDV regiment deployed in Novofedorivka from its sister regiments in the Verbove area. So basically splitting this unit that's up here, right, from its southern. So basically, if the Ukrainians come in and go north of Verbove, they're going to cut these guys off from everybody down here. And ISW does not assess that an encirclement of the 56th VDV regiment is likely, though Ukrainian forces may have isolated it from the rest of the 7th VDV division. If Ukrainians manage to outmaneuver it from Verbove's north, and the regiment inexplicably remains in its current positions. Nonetheless, a Russian source affiliated with the VDV expressed panic at the prospect of significant advances in the Verbove area. So they're looking to the south, and they know they're going to get encircled. ISW's September 24th update discusses a dynamic situation flooded with contradictory and panicky reports by Russian mill bloggers pursuing their own agendas. Please read carefully, don't take posts out of or sentences out of context, and be patient. Along the same lines, strikes continue in Sevastopol. This is basically the 4th or 5th day in a row, if you want to count consecutive days. Something continues to explode in Sevastopol. 3 explosions have already been counted. This was 3:59 a.m. our time, which is 10 a.m. their time. Smoke screen has been erected over the southern bay. So there are the strikes, and that looks to be out over the water, the smoke screen that the Russians put out, maybe to stop unmanned sea drones, I'm not sure. Explosions and ammunition detonation is reported in the Russian-controlled Sorokin in Krasnodar, Luhansk region. And these are daytime strikes as well, which is significant.
Нихуя себе! Ебать! Вот это уебало. Меня аж ветром сдуло нахуй. Ебануться.
It's impossible to tell what that is. It could be a JDAM, could be cruise missile, could be anything. There's another one from distance.
Конкретно что-то бахнуло. Ого.
Another one from distance. Nothing too detailed. And one of the coolest smoke rings you're ever going to see. This one was up close. I wish they had got shown what was hit, but kind of an interesting smoke ring. And where is that located? The very, very far eastern portion of the occupied area in eastern Ukraine.
Хорошо, клуб дыма, только что огонь был. Это до нас звук просто долго доходит.
And so there's the building that was hit, but you don't know if that is actually. Oh no, sorry, that building wasn't it. That's being used for geolocation. So yeah, still don't know what was hit. No. Almost done. Lastly, so Russian MP Andrei Gurlev, who you see on TV on a regular basis, proposes to send all unemployed to war. According to him, idleness is one of the problems that prevents the Russian army from achieving its goals and tasks in Ukraine. When you have 1,300 international companies leaving your country, some people are going to be idle, but they also don't have enough workers for other industries. He says people do not work anywhere at all, sit and do nothing, and are listed on the labor exchange. They say, let's carry out mobilization. Yes, let's do it. There, everyone is registered at the labor exchange, those unemployed, for the power of the Soviets. This was on Solyov Live. So basically he's stating that anybody who's out of work should just be force mobilized and sent to the front lines. Along the same lines, this also comes from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. Basically, they have confirmation that Putin has ordered Shoigu to stop the counteroffensive of the armed forces of Ukraine by October. Analysts at the Institute for the Study of War, citing an insider source in the Kremlin, also claim that the Russian president gave Shoigu a month to improve the situation on the front line, stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and return the initiative to the Russian troops. The report suggests that Russian military commanders may order continuous counterattacks to force the Ukrainian counteroffensive to reach a climax, even at a high cost to Russian military capabilities. So basically throw everything at them except the kitchen sink, or maybe even the kitchen sink, to try to get them to stop advancing. Putin and the Kremlin view Russia's defensive operations as a major victory on the battlefield. So basically, taking new territory is not what they're considering success now. Holding what they've got is going to be considered success. Russian counterattacks allow the Kremlin to call these operations individual victories against the backdrop of a general lack of Russian success on the battlefield elsewhere. So basically, if they can stop them, they count it as a victory, as opposed to if they can push them back. So Shoigu's got till October. What happens after that? Because Shoigu's not going to be successful, but he's got his marching orders, so I would expect to see some more meat waves coming. And lastly, on a brighter note, I'm not sure if I showed you this yesterday, but I definitely wanted to show it. As far as how the morale's going for the Ukrainian forces.
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
I'm gonna get copyrighted, I just realized that. Donate to United 24. What a great video. Hopefully, I don't get copyrighted for that. That's everything for, today so far. We'll be live streaming tonight at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great day. Slava Ukraini.